A long campaign is now.
This is the Haram market in Mogadishu.
NATO's military success against
many Western nations.
This is On Assignment.
Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in as we go on assignment with our VOA reporters around the world. I'm Alex Villarreal.
And I'm Philip Alexio. Boko Haram terrorizes Nigeria, but what's the response from the United States?
6 young Iranians punished for being happy and showing it on YouTube.
Tens of thousands marched to remember one of humanity's greatest evils, the Holocaust.
And how coral reefs respond to warmer waters may help scientists figure out how to save them.
Stay right there. On Assignment begins right now. Outrage and horror. These are the emotions many felt when they learned of the more than 270 Nigerian schoolgirls kidnapped by Islamist militant group Boko Haram. The kidnapping prompted an international effort to locate the girls. Among the nations assisting Nigeria, the United States, which deployed 80 troops.
The deployment coincided with powerful testimony before the U.S. Congress by a young survivor of a Boko Haram attack. 15-year-old Deborah Peter was just 12 years old when militants attacked her family. VOA congressional correspondent Cindy Sain was in the room as Deborah shared her story with lawmakers and described the day Boko Haram killed her father and brother. What was it like for you as a reporter sitting in that room watching her testify?
Well, Alex, I think we were all struck by how small and young she seemed. She was in a floral dress with a sweater. She was very soft-spoken. She went through and told the whole story of how 3 men from Boko Haram came to her home and shot and killed her father and her brother in front of her, and then forced her to lie down between the corpses. And she was composed, which made it all the more, I think, difficult to watch for me and the other journalists.
We told him they're going to give him a chance if he denied his faith, but my dad refused to deny his faith. He didn't give up. And then he told them that God says anyone that denied him in the front of people, he's going to deny them in the front of his dad in heaven. So that's how they shoot my dad in his chest 3 times.
It's now 2014, and we've seen Boko Haram take these nearly 300 Nigerian schoolgirls from Deborah's same town. Why has it taken so long for this to get global attention, and what are lawmakers saying about that?
The chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Ed Royce, pointed out that 500 schools have been burned down in Nigeria, that while the world is deliberating on what to do, more girls are being kidnapped, more people are being taken.
The difficulty is that Boko Haram is in a process of expanding their terror, and the frequency of these attacks, the attacks on girls, that's been an evolution. I mean, as they've intimidated and frightened the Nigerian military, they're now to the point where a lot of military units have run away.
And we did see a big announcement by the Obama administration on the day that Deborah appeared before Congress. What happened?
The president sent a letter to Congress saying that there are 80 military advisors now in Chad, mainly, I think, to run drones, unarmed drones, to try and track down the girls. But some in Congress are saying, you know, we really would like to see more, that the U.S. is uniquely in a position to take on things like hostage situations, negotiation, rescue missions, that they have the intelligence to track down these girls, and they are calling on the U.S. Obama administration to do so.
So what kind of triumph then does Deborah represent as a young girl who survived an attack by Boko Haram and is now going to school in a Western school here in this area in Virginia, correct?
Well, that's absolutely right. And she has come to be the human face, which is riveting even more attention on this issue. She's here in the United States. She's going to a Christian school in Virginia. And she actually, when she spoke, she said that, asked what her message would be. She said, well, maybe the Army can go out and rescue those girls. And she said, and also help others who have lost their families, that they can go to school. So going to school is so important for her.
What kind of emergence of support have we seen around the world?
Social media, as I'm sure you know, Alex, has really gotten involved to bring back our girls, and there is just a worldwide movement. I think that this has really put a face on the issue, and these girls who've been taken, and there's just I think it has reached the level where people say this can just no longer be tolerated. And there are concerns about the Nigerian military, corruption and human rights abuses there, but at least on Capitol Hill, lawmakers are saying, look, this is an extraordinary situation. We have to get beyond those. The president can make an exception. He can do what's called a waiver and say, we do need to send more U.S. support for this mission.
All right, and again, that was VOA congressional correspondent Cindy Sain. Now, it's interesting to note, Phil, Boko Haram's name itself means Western education is prohibited. Yeah, and the U.S. officially designated Boko Haram a terrorist organization last year, with the State Department saying the group has ties to Al-Qaeda.
All right, thanks, Alex. Time for a break, but on the other side, how a simple music video landed 6 Iranians in prison. You're watching On Assignment.
Freedom of expression. It's something many here in the United States take for granted. But in Iran, when 6 young Iranians posted a YouTube video of themselves dancing to U.S. singer Pharrell Williams' song Happy, they were arrested. Police released them, and Iranian President Hassan Rouhani even took to Twitter to show his support. But the story has attracted international attention to a government some observers criticize as too restrictive. Well, joining me now is Negar Mohammadi of VOA's Persian service. Negar, when you watch this video, it all seems pretty innocent. So what was wrong with it in the eyes of the Iranian authorities?
Well, based on what Hossein Sajidiniya, Tehran's police chief, has stated, they have hurt public chastity, meaning they have broken Islamic laws. Women appearing without proper hijab in this video. They've been using illegal websites, meaning YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook to promote their video, and they were also dancing with Western pop music. So, and in Iran, these websites are illegal, even though the supreme leader and president have access to these websites, but they are illegal. So based on these 3 examples, they broken the Iranian laws.
Right, and it's interesting that you mentioned these sites being illegal because we had President Rouhani responding on Twitter, and I want to talk about his message because, okay, so these people were arrested, the group was arrested, and then they were freed, and then President Rouhani came out with this tweet writing, "Happiness is our people's right. We shouldn't be too hard on behaviors caused by joy." The fact that he would come out and make this kind of public statement, what kind of outcome has that had in Iran?
I should mention that he tweeted this a year ago, but right after the arrest, he retweeted this, and as you said, happiness is our people's right. And I should say that almost 24 hours after the arrest, they were released except the producer of the music video. So that shows actually the gap between those who President Rouhani is representing and the hardliners who are in support of such arrests.
Right, and what kind of reactions have we seen inside Iran, and what does something like this tell us about current life there?
Well, the incident has angered people inside and outside of Iran. Well, inside, right after the arrest, hashtag Free Iranian, Happy Iranians got really crazy on social media. And outside, I should say that I was covering the coverage of international news agencies and also newspapers. I should say that every hour, like, all this story was covered by international news organizations. It was everywhere.
Well, Negar, thank you so much. Negar Mohammadi from VOA's Persian service. Thanks for joining us today. All right, well, moving on. Just ahead, VOA's religion reporter takes us to a site with a tragic past, but hopeful signs for the future. You're watching On Assignment. Some 10,000 people from around the world took part in a march this past April between former Nazi death camps Auschwitz and Birkenau. The Holocaust, which saw Germany's Nazi regime kill 6 million Jews during World War II, remains one of the darkest periods in human history. But now there is concern that anti-Semitism is spreading in Europe again.
In Hungary, a party that refuses to condemn anti-Semitism won 20% of the vote in a recent national election. The Anti-Defamation League says anti-Semitism is connected to extremist parties in other European countries as well. VOA's Jerome Sokolowski was in Europe for the march and talks with me about it, but first let's take a look at his report.
A Jewish prayer where it was once forbidden, as the marchers set out under the rain and under the sign that bears one of history's most horrible lies, Arbeit macht frei, work makes free. The March of the Living takes place on Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day in Israel, and it has been held every year since 1988.
Do you know what or who inspired this march to begin with?
Well, there was a concern back then already that Holocaust survivors were aging, and people were afraid that what they witnessed, that their testimony would be lost. And so the march was initially conceived as a way of having survivors come, having young people come, and then pass on their witness stories to younger people.
More than 1 million people, mostly Jews, were sent to their deaths in gas chambers like this one, though some were forced to live in conditions that few survived. Fanny Gal toured the camp just before the march.
So nations, I can't forget this. It can never happen again.
There were many participants from Hungary, which accounts for 1/3 of the Jews who died here. Christina Kuhn is also Hungarian and also one of the many non-Jews who marched.
It's important from the young generation because in Hungary, it's a big problem, the anti-Semitism.
Is this your first time there?
This was my first time at Auschwitz and at this March for the Living, and it was a pretty impressive event. Thousands and upon thousands of people marching from Auschwitz to Birkenau, just a long column of people coming in wrapped in Israeli flags and flags of European countries, while the speakers at Birkenau, the loudspeaker system, was reading names of people who perished in Birkenau.
What's it like, I guess, I don't know, you've never seen any of the Nazi death camps before, have you?
I had been to a few,
You
yes.
have been to a few. So I guess for people who haven't actually been there personally, and in some of your video there, you see the gas chamber, you see the ovens, and I think just about everybody has seen that sort of thing on television. But when you see that personally, what is it like?
I mean, it's a very, at least I can speak personally. I suppose everybody's experience is different, and of course I'm Jewish, so that makes my experience different, I suppose, as well. But being there, I guess you feel the presence of, or I felt that there were, I don't know if exactly ghosts of people, but you're just overwhelmed with this feeling that, my God, at one point there were so many people here in such inhuman, I mean, just brought to the depths of humanity, and it's just unfathomable. Even seeing where they were, even seeing that, of course, many of the gas chambers were destroyed, but there is at least that one left that we went into. It's just still unfathomable what happened there, and it's so hard to describe and talk about. But it's quite overpowering. And actually being there on the day of the March for the Living is and I guess this is the idea of the march, it's quite inspiring to have people come back and sort of negate what the camp was about by making it a march for the living. The background of the march is that at the end of World War II, when Germany was losing the war, the leaders of the camp took about 750,000 Jews that were left in the camps and just marched them until they died. And so the March for the Living is supposed to be like a denial or a counterpoint to that.
Coral reefs are home to about 1/3 of everything that lives in the ocean. They help protect coasts from storm damage and provide food and jobs for about 1 billion people.
But rising ocean temperatures and increasing acidity are destroying these coral reefs at a rapid pace. On Australia's Great Barrier Reef, for example, nearly 75% of the corals have died.
There is hope, though. New research might shed some light on how to conserve coral reefs in warmer waters. VOA's Roseanne Skirble reports and talks with me about it. Let's take a look.
On a remote Pacific lagoon in American Samoa, researchers are studying a single coral species living in 2 adjacent ponds on the same reef. The only difference is that one pond is warmer than the other, says Stanford University marine biologist Stephen Palumbi from his Oceanside laboratory.
These tanks have corals in them that we got off the reef this morning. By this afternoon, this one is alive, but this one's dead.
About half of that coral survived, the ones that moved from the cooler pond into the warmer pond. And what they're seeing is that the coral that lived in the warm water all along, nothing happened over that time, and they were living at temperatures like 35 degrees centigrade, and temperatures that generally would kill coral. That's kind of like the edge of where coral would be killed, but they weren't killed. They have a certain gene that the other coral didn't have. So what they saw is that the coral could adapt, and that this coral and certain other coral could live there, which is kind of good news.
We estimate that it would take about 50 to 100 years for evolution to generate this kind of change, mostly because corals are very long-lived animals, and the generation time is quite long.
So it sounds like, at least what he found, this is different coral than obviously what might be in the Great Barrier Reef or in the Caribbean, because they're not adapting.
Well, some pockets of coral, and that's that's what he's doing now. He wants to find out what other pockets of coral are, can survive and others that can adapt.
But this ability to respond physiologically and evolutionarily might give them a few extra decades, might give them a little extra time to be able to adjust to climate change. It gives us a little extra time to fix the problem.
And it's also a way to target your conservation priorities. So you see your reef where the coral is thriving and it's warmer water. Well, you may want to put that next in the line to protect.
Hopefully, maybe they can breed coral if they can do that, but then you're talking about saving coral if they could even do that in such massive amounts.
Well, that's true. And also the planet is warming up faster than perhaps these actions can be taken. But obviously to reduce To reduce warming, we have to reduce emissions, and those emissions come from cars and from power plants and buildings, and humans are putting this into the atmosphere.
So much of life evolves around coral. The fish, I guess, feed off of it. It's, I guess, a life support.
Correct. It's a life support. It's a nursery. It provides jobs and it provides habitat and protects the coast. If we don't have these reefs, if these reefs are dead, and what a dead reef is, we talk about coral bleaching. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Coral bleaching is when one of these factors happens, that the coral dies, and then what happens is that what you'll see is what you might associate with coral. It looks white. Mm-hmm. When it's white, it's dead. So is there any quick fix? No. Can we reduce emissions? Yes.
Palumbi says the study suggests that as the ocean warms, some corals can adapt, but not, he fears, as quickly as the planet heats up.
We either take action or don't take action. If we take action, maybe we can buy some time and figure out how to proceed in the future. We have to take action on a personal level, we have to take action on a national level, we have to take action on an international level, we have to coordinate among ourselves. We have to realize we've got a problem. As you go through your daily life, you may not think this has anything to do with you, but it does. So it touches everybody in the globe.
VOA's Roseanne Skirble. And Alex, speaking of ocean waters, it's nearing summertime here in the Northern Hemisphere, which means graduation day is upon us. It's the season, though.
It is the season of graduation, and one member of this year's graduating class at the University of Virginia is not your typical student. VOA's Carolyn Pursuti has the story.
Years ago, he would have blended in as one of them. Now, he looks different. But strangely, Jerry Reed does fit in.
Congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you.
Reed is a 70-year-old senior at the University of Virginia. But his age is easy to forget.
I'll get a hug later.
He hangs out at bars.
Did you have fun last night? What time did you end up leaving?
He joined a fraternity.
From Rugby Road to Vinegar Hill, we're gonna get drunk tonight.
Who's baby go?
And he's really popular.
He's the coolest 7-year-old I know now.
Oh, yeah. You got it.
Reed is an energetic member of the Who Crew, the student cheering section at games.
Wahoo, wahoo.
Fellow classmates say they can talk to him about anything.
You can relate to him just like that.
This was Jerry Reed back in his 20s, racing cars and chasing girls. Back then, his friend Bill invited him to parties at UVA.
Bill Sturman just told me what a screw-up I was, that there was no way I'd ever make anything out of my life unless I came up here and went to school with him.
That was back in 1963. Jerry says it took him 48 years to listen to that advice, and in 2011, he enrolled as a college student.
Our next speaker is Jerry Reed.
For his last exam before graduation, Reed spoke about Civil War General Stonewall Jackson.
His blunders were not as large as the enemy's in most cases. An astounding luck remained on his side.
Jerry Reed leaves behind his mark on UVA, Professor Luke Wright.
He certainly opened the minds of the 18 through 21-year-olds that life does not end at 40.
Instead, it can be the beginning of a dream.
Remember, that path that you left waits for you. It's there, it's yours. All you got to do is get out of your own way and get back to it, and that's exactly what I did.
It's over.
Reed says he and his wife Susan will now take some time to enjoy his college degree. Then he'll return to UVA to get a master's degree.
Shoot, we still got parties to go to.
In Charlottesville, Virginia, Carolyn Pursuti, VOA News.
All right, such an inspiring story there, and our thanks, of course, to Carolyn Pursuti for showing us that age is nothing but a number, and as they say, you are as young as you feel.
Also, and age is not a disease either. All right, I feel like I'm 25.
That's good, and that's pretty much where you are, right?
Yeah, give or take
that's
a couple
your age.
years, that's right.
Exactly. All right, well, don't forget to check us out on Facebook anytime and also at voanews.com.
So from all of us young and the restless here at On Assignment, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.